Start?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the City of Isleton Planning Commission meeting, Tuesday, October 4th, 2022. Let's stand up.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Planning Commissioner Mandy Elder. Here. Planning Commissioner Michelle Burt. Here. Planning Commissioner Ruby Fowler. Here. Planning Commissioner Joe Kestner.
Here.
Chair Jack Chima.
Here.
Thank you.
Any changes or deletions to the commission?
No, Mr. Chair.
Any public comments?
Yeah, I've got a couple of things. Oh, go ahead. Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
State your name, please.
Yeah, it's, my name's Tom Kane, 59 Main. I wanted to comment on two things real quick, and mainly it's because of the format of the meetings that I wasn't able to respond to what you had to say at the end of the last meeting. So I'm gonna bring up some stuff really quick. I don't expect any commentary, but it's just for your guys' information. And then the third thing is actually really good news, I think, for you guys. So this whole thing about putting stuff on the agenda, according to the League of California States, who we contacted and talked to, the city manager being in complete control of what goes on the agenda deviates from a near statewide practice of other government entities, according to the League of California Cities. I would like to see any documentation, law, municipal code, or rules that have been passed by resolution that bestow that kind of power onto the city manager. I point out the fact that I know you brought up the difference between an appointed body and an elected body, and I totally understand that. But we need to recognize that this person is an appointed person also. The difference is you guys live here, and you know what the public's interested in and what the public's concerns are. As far as the difference between what one county does versus another, or our city versus another, I understand the reasoning behind that. However, we have two state laws. The first one is part of the Brown Act. The chairperson or majority of the planning commission can call for a special meeting. But what's the point of being able to call a special meeting if you can't say what's going to be on the meeting? So that kind of flies in the face of logic. Also, according to the Brown Act, Government Code 54-954-2, the planning commission can, quote, request staff to report back to the body at a subsequent meeting concerning any matter, or take action to direct staff to place a matter of business on a future agenda. That's state law, that applies everywhere in the state. Within Isleton's municipal code, under Article 13, Section 1301, states, planning commission on its own initiative may, by resolution, add a use to the list of permitted uses and conditional uses. And again, how would that be possible if you're not allowed to put that on an agenda to be able to talk about whether you want to add something to the conditional uses or permitted uses? So you guys kind of need that latitude to be able to kind of do your job. Same thing, municipal code 2.28.070. The planning commission shall, and that's not may, but they shall, elect its chairman and vice chairman from among its members, and so appoint a secretary who need not be a member of the commission. But again, how can you do that if you're not allowed, if you guys can't decide that, we need to do that, let's put it on the agenda. So, what I think would be the fairest thing is that the city staff and commission work together to come up with an agenda. I'm not saying that, you know, Chuck can't put stuff on the agenda at all. That's not at all what I'm saying, or what I'm advocating. What I'm advocating for is that planning commission can actually do the things that planning commission is supposed to do. One of those things, and it's in that document that you handed out, were the duties of the planning commission. And the very first one of the general plan says you guys are supposed to help write the general plan. It says it right there. How can you do that if you're not allowed to discuss it at a meeting and not allowed to place that on the agenda as something you want to discuss? For instance, tiny homes. And this will get to the good news I was talking about. But if you guys want to seriously engage on the idea of the notion of integrating tiny homes into the general plan or into zoning, then you need to be able to talk about it. And you need to be able to put it on an agenda. That seems logical and fair. What I'd love to see is planning commission appoint an ad hoc two-person committee to hold public meetings, to talk with the community and solicit ideas from the community about what they think. Because it's only 2 members and less than a quorum, Brown Act doesn't apply, so it's no burden on city staff to have to run the meeting or set up the meeting or record it. And so it'd be a great way to elicit information from the public on that particular issue. On the bonus, I think is a big plus. So, Mike Leach, is he ever gonna be at any of these meetings?
But this is comments, I'll respond after that.
Okay, well, this is.
It's not interchange, it's public comment.
Yeah, just make your comments.
Okay, fine. So Mike Leach, CSG Consultants, is apparently our new building official. Hopefully I can get confirmation of that. He also happens to be the president of Region 1 of the International Council, or Code Council. They're the ones that author the International Building Codes and the International Residential Codes, which are the building codes the state of California uses. The state of California adopted the International Building Code as the building code for the state of California. The reason this is such a great thing is the International Residential Code was updated with Appendix Q, which added a whole bunch of provisions in it for tiny homes, specifically for tiny homes. They gave special allowances for things like the width of staircases and landings and, you know, how big a room needed to be and stuff like that, specifically addressing the tiny home stuff. And if you guys do take up the notion of adding tiny homes, he might be a great one to talk to about what kind of building standards and stuff should you guys, you know, look at in terms of what you should add to it in order to comply with that stuff. So, but anyway, yeah, we'll welcome Mr. Leach and hopefully we can run into him these days. Okay, that's it.
Mr. Chair, if I can comment on a couple items.
Go ahead.
With respect to the comment that the city manager has complete control, I only have the exercise the authority of the code and the state law provide. I have asked the attorney about the items that you raised about putting things on the agenda and asked the attorney if he can provide that latitude outside of what the city code and what the state law provides. So to the statement that I have complete control and I contend that I don't, I only do what the book says.
Can we do something about this?
Is this better? It's better, okay. I like do what you. Hello?
Maybe if you point the microphone more straight back, so it's not trying to pick up that speaker.
Anyway, I administer the planning agenda as per code state law. I've asked the attorney to weigh in on it and provide the latitude so you all can put things on. The other item on the building official as needed, he can attend these meetings.
Any more public comments? Go ahead.
Tony Hudson, 9 School Street. on School Street.
Okay.
I just had a couple concerns about the development. I think it's a great opportunity to see Isleton grow in a positive way. Kind of look forward to it. Just want some reassurance that the homes will be built to code, flood level, constructed, not shipping containers. And also they will conform to city code ordinances regarding livestock within city limits and being roamed out on the streets of Isleton. That's it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yvonne, any more public comments from your side?
No, sir.
Thank you very much. Any communications?
No, Mr. Chair. Consent.
Consent calendar, approval of minutes of the planning commission meeting, September 6th, 2022.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Do I have a
I had
second?
a question on the, actually, under the letter that was submitted. Normally, there's a description of it on all other, agendas and minutes. There's some kind of a,
Yeah.
what did it have to do with?
Yeah, that's an oversight, yeah, I need to provide the description and date of the letter. No.
Okay. So tabled until that's repaired?
So we will table this for the next meeting. Thank you. Public hearing, this is tentative subdivision map 2022-01, Alexander Kushner applicant. This one here, myself and Ms. Burke, we are less than 500 feet from the property line of that, and legally we are supposed to excuse ourselves from the meeting. So any commissioner will take over the meeting for this particular thing. Would you like to
Sure,
take
why
over?
not?
Mr. Kestner will take over the meeting, and Ms. Burke and I will step down. Go ahead.
If I do it wrong, somebody will help me out. But anyway,
I'll keep you under the table.
you'll kick me, that's good for you. Okay, we have a, subject here is the subdivision map, of 2022-01 for Alexander Kushner for the development of the property on Sixth Street. This is a, the recommendation is we have a public hearing to consider this, and, staff and public comments, you know, we should talk about it.
Yeah, Mr. Kisser, Mr. Price and Mr. Lockwood are online to make a presentation on this proposed project. I'd like to turn over to Mr. Price to make the presentation.
Commissioner Kestner and members of the commission, good evening. This project consists of a subdivision of about 1.13 acres of vacant land into 7 lots. The property is located at 6th and the corner of Gaswell and D Street. And all lots are accessed from the existing public right-of-ways. The property is zoned R17, which allows a minimum of, requires a minimum of 7,000 square feet per lot. Each of the lots exceed that, and through this, both the subdivision regulations and the zoning code, the subdivision is subject to both planning commission approval, review, and then finally, through recommendation of the commission, approval by the city council. So you should have a complete package of the project. According to the subdivision regulations, they really refer to the zoning code and the general plan. For general plan consistency, the project is consistent for the minimum of 7 lots. For zoning, it does meet the dimensions and widths and depths for the design. So the subdivision does meet both general plan and zoning compliance issues. There was a design plan for a typical house that's included in the package. However, home design is exempt from planning commission or city council review. It's something that staff normally does, but nonetheless, it's in there. The plan shows a 2-story house with the occupied portion above the floodplain. So as noted in the hydrology section in the environmental review, project would need to comply with the hydrologic conditions of the site and floodplain. The project was circulated to the city staff. They've all reviewed it. It was also circulated for at least 30 days through the environmental review. The environmental review document is pretty extensive and it talks about pretty much the physical impacts from the project. There was a comment received from the Regional Water Quality Control Board of the state agency, which identifies all of the clearances that the subdivision will need to complete. That will be part of the final map, as well as building permits for follow housing development. As part of the review, the Planning Commission needs to consider the environmental review and the adequacy of the environmental review documents, and that's part of it. So at this point, we would recommend that the Planning Commission conduct a public hearing, consider the applicants and the staff's findings, and approve the project through adoption of the attached resolution. The resolution has a number of conditions that require quite a few things that, deal with the site situation in the floodplain, as well as, public improvements, sidewalks, curbs and gutters. And the applicants here discuss the project as well. Probably have an opportunity for Rob Woods to talk about it quickly, and then you listen to what the public has to say, and any questions that you have, we're happy to answer at this time.
Am I up?
Rob, what statement?
Thanks, Gary. I'm Rob. I'm with Millennium Planning and Engineering. I'm here representing the applicant, Mr. Kushner. And this is pretty straightforward. As Gary mentioned, it's a 7-lot subdivision. It complies with the zoning and general plan. We meet the minimum lot sizes. There are 7 lots. 3 of them come off of D Street, 2 of them come off of gas wells, and 2 are going to be accessed off of 6th Street. And we're in agreement with the conditions of approval. Most of them consist of frontage improvements, curb, gutter, sidewalk, and street improvements along all the frontage. And we're in agreement with all the conditions. So pretty straightforward subdivision, but I'm happy to field any questions if anybody has them.
Council wants to have any questions, and/or we can open it to the public hearing.
Yeah, I have, Joe Kessler, council, I have questions. Since I'm new on the council, was this plan brought forward to the commissioners prior to this whole program being put together?
I believe it was, but we didn't have all the specs and everything like that. At one point, I think they wanted 6 homes, and we thought maybe 4 would be better. It's been a while.
It
But we
came,
didn't have the specs.
it came before commission, I think twice, once, a couple of years ago, at a different lot size. And then, about, I think 6 or 7 months ago, with no environmental review, and the commission sent it back for environmental review. So now it's come back, with the reviews, and, the configuration was 7 lots.
Okay, because I had a few questions myself, since I wasn't in on those, and they've been covered off, by the previous board, and nothing I can say about it. But, in today's reality, you have to figure at least 2 vehicles per household, at a minimum. Now, we're not counting boats or RVs, we're just counting 2 vehicles. 7, and this talks about 7, but then somebody's made a mistake or something, because at the back of this presentation, it speaks of only 6 residents. So, a little confusion there, is it 6 or is it 7? And I want, the parking, is what my big.
I can answer that question.
Yes, go ahead.
Because if the lot was to be developed as a single family house, it would be, 1 resident. So the baseline for environmental is 6 additional residents, because you have 1 that's allowed without the subdivision. With the subdivision, you have 6 more residents. Thank you.
I'm sorry, why didn't make any sense to me? I don't understand.
Right now, someone could come in and, build a house on the existing vacant lot. So that's 1 resident. And that's an allowed use, no subdivision. So when we did the environmental review, we evaluated it based on, well, you're gonna have 7 lots there. So that's 7 as opposed to an existing lot. So that's an actual 6 additional residents being proposed, as opposed to 1 potential resident that could be built as a allowed use. So that's how we evaluate the environmental impact in the project.
Okay, so I understand you, it's sort of like building 1 spec house on the lot, and then the environmental impact for the remaining 6.
Yeah, the net gain is, 1 lot with 1 house, if they subdivide, the net gain is 6 more homes.
All right, I understand that now, but, the concern I have with the planning commission is, as bad as the parking is in Isleton, which is the major concern of this entire city, that we either have to pass an ordinance, we have to do something, have absolutely no street parking. We have enough problems as it is. If we add street parking, I think we're gonna have a massive problem. Cause I see no place on this for RVs, boats, or anything else. Has that been taken into consideration?
Well, when the project was proposed, we looked at minimum zoning standards, and that we defer that at the building permit stage when a house is built on one of those lots. And the current standard under the zoning code is a minimum 2 parking spaces off the street. But you also have a 20-foot setback, and you also have a garage standard. So if you look at how they're proposing the development, the design, and the planning commission's really kind of outside that purview of looking at each lot development. But you would have 2 spaces in the garage, and then you have opportunity to park 2 more spaces behind the garage. So, you have potentially 4 spaces there. There's nothing in the zoning code that requires RV parking separate from in a single family lot situation. So that would be something that if you were to be looking at that, we'd have to go back and amend the zoning code and look at ways to add. And we'd probably have to be looking at, requiring larger lots or something like that. But for the purposes of meeting the current zoning standards under the code, we see that 7 lots being able to meet the minimum zoning standards for single family house development.
Yeah, I understand that, and I'm okay with that. My concern is to the city, make sure that we don't end up having a parking fiasco on Gaswell, D Street, and 6th Street by people using it for parking and then parking boats and RVs in their driveways or behind their houses. We have massive problems in Isleton with parking to begin with, and I wanna know if that's been addressed.
You know, like I said, it's in the zoning code. If you wanted to, if the council and the plan commission wanted to venture into revising the zoning code to look at those things, then we would need to do that. Right now, there's no requirement for RV parking for, you know, single family development.
Thank you.
Ruby Fowler, I have a number of questions, actually. I want to know, and I believe it is Mr. Kushner's intention is to not only have single-family residences, but also add accessory dwelling units. If you look at the map, over the little footprint map here on page 36, it shows what really looks like to me ADU. If in fact, why is there no mention of accessory dwelling units in this plan? And if there are gonna
You know, I can answer that. The city has only limited authority over accessory dwelling units. The state law, was adopted about 2 years ago. I think when we looked at the housing element, we had to acknowledge the need for, accessory dwelling units. So state law has come in and preempted the city from saying no to accessory dwelling units. So it's quite feasible that each lot could be built with a single family house and then an accessory dwelling unit. So the law is very specific about parking and additional things, and the city just is not allowed by law to preclude the ability for each lot owner to create an accessory dwelling unit in addition to the single family house.
Yeah, also, if I can add to that, Mr. Fowler, one is like Mr. Price said, the state law came in and said that all lots can do ADUs. However, an ADU would have to comply with the flooding ordinance requirement of 8 feet, so that'd be a little obtuse, and I don't think people would want to do that, having to build a home 8 feet up in the air. That's just a small home up 8 feet up in the air, but the state law was written that way, so that's
true.
just the state law.
And there's two types of accessory dwelling units. There's the regular accessory dwelling unit, and then there's what they call a junior accessory dwelling unit. Junior accessory dwelling unit is something that would be inside of the house. So perhaps, you know, a mother-in-law quarters or something has its own kitchen, so you could get like a 1,200 square foot house, and within the house, you have a junior accessory dwelling unit. The professional accessory dwelling unit would be something that would be either attached or detached to the house, and like Chuck said, probably not practical because it would be hard to sit up in the air next to the house.
Okay, but is it Mr. Kushner's intention to eventually add accessory dwelling units to these properties? If so.
Yeah, we wouldn't be allowed to look at that as a impact or anything else based on how the state has determined how to look at sequel. We're not allowed. We're only supposed to be looking at the impact of 6 additional dwelling units on the project.
Okay, so that's no intention for ADUs?
Nope.
Okay, cause if there were, ADUs going on that property, it would completely change the impact of that property in terms of the environment. The whole EIR would be kind of, understated. Already, I feel like the noise, lighting, and traffic impacts of this, project are already understated. The average, like, Mr. Kessler said, the average, household is two cars, 2.2 cars. Around here, it's 2 cars, 1 truck, 1 load. And I'm concerned also about more traffic on 6th Street. It's a area that I walk every day. I see kids on their bicycles, people walking. I see in the morning, I go out and walk down 6th Street and I see donuts from cars having sped down 6th Street. I'm concerned about the impact of, so if you have 7 units, 2 cars, that's gonna be 14 cars. throw in a truck or two,
Don't forget the RV.
an RV, you have a lot of, you have 20, 25 cars. Am I doing that right?
Pretty close.
Exiting, entering, Sixth Street with no safety mitigations. Every Christmas, I see kids on new bicycles, they just got their bicycles, they're trying out their wheels on Sixth Street. I see people flying down Sixth Street, not paying much attention to the speed limits. So I'm a little concerned that I think this prevailing attitude that Sixth Street is a wasteland and that it doesn't have much benefit, and really it has a lot of recreational value to the people of Isleton. So I'm concerned about the safety of the public. I wanna know if, there's a way to further mitigate, traffic impact. I don't think that it's an accurate assessment of the impact of this project on the city.
Did we go to the section and discuss it a little bit, because we feel like we did done with the impacts of the project based on the International Traffic Engineers manual, that here's the data-based traffic impacts. And, the general plan, we basically tear off the general plan, which says, we build at the zoning, 7 lots, the environmental issues are acceptable, unless there's something in particular with the project that goes beyond what we anticipate in the general plan. So when we do that, that's when we do this environmental assessment to evaluate the impacts. And in terms of safety, you know, we're looking at the proper site distance, and for, I guess there's 2 lots like that, not on the 6th Street. And the city engineer would tell you, and that's Judd, would say it's a safe situation. You know, I'm not sure the city, you know, the planning commission could really say no to something like that based on, you know, and I guess we could use some additional traffic analysis from a traffic engineer, but I just don't see, since we've already determined that the density and the development is consistent with the general plan, going beyond that I'm not sure the legally sustainable position for the city to be in. But we can take a look at the environmental assessment, see where your concerns are, and we can redo the environmental assessment, I suppose, but I really wanna figure out what what the basis of the concerns. Because the data and analysis come from industry standards. I don't need to be argumentative, I'm just telling you that's how we assess things, is based on industry standards for traffic analysis.
Would the developer be willing to contribute to the city a series of speed bumps along Sixth Street?
I guess the question is there meaningful analysis that would suggest if that's something that's really needed? And so we wouldn't further space, I'm not sure, you may need to jump in for the city.
With respect to, the speed humps on Sixth Street, we could do that, it'd have to take a separate study, an analysis, and would be done, would be done independent of this project. We could ask, the developer, I guess, to contribute to that measure, but that, this would not trigger, speed humps. I think speed humps would be independent study, and then we ask the developer to contribute, although they do pay impact fees, and part of the impact fee is traffic mitigation, so that the developer may contend that he has contributed to, the traffic impact by paying his impact fees. A speed study, again, would be a separate matter, and we can look into it. And also just a comment like what Gary mentioned, my observation, my experience, the report says it averages about 57 average trips daily for 6 more homes. It's not a significant impact for the current traffic on 6th Street.
I'm not sure I'm convinced of that, but, I would like for us to look at that a little more, if possible. Oh, my other concern was, I know that, Mr. Gregson, we had been talking for the past couple of years now about a recreational enhancement to 6th Street having to do with walking trails and, that sort of, recreational enhancement for the population of Isleton. I wonder, how this development would impact that project, going forward in terms of continuity of trails and, greater traffic.
Well, the proposed project for 6th Street was on the south side of 6th Street.
Yeah.
We do plan eventually, hopefully, to find funds to reconstruct and improve 6th Street. Possibly put in some traffic mitigation measures to slow it down. Separate, I guess, complement to that is the trail. And we're still applying at least 2 different funds for that project.
One more question, if you don't mind. There's listed in this document, a list of mitigations.
Yeah.
My question is, who is gonna monitor and ensure compliance of those mitigations?
There is a mitigation monitoring program at the beginning of the document, and identifies who is responsible for implementing those mitigations. So if we turn to page, page 25 of the environmental document, we talked about mitigation monitoring, and what the purpose of it is, identifies each of the mitigation measures and who's responsible. And then we use this checklist as we go through and do the final map and anything else that we need to do. So as you can see, identifies who's responsible, city engineer, in some cases the air district, sometimes it's the city planner, and that's how that works.
Okay.
And I know this is all new material, we're doing the environmental review, it's a kind of a new, I'm trying to understand that a little bit more. I know we had a training program, I think some of you were there, we talked about, the environmental review process and how this works, so now we can tire speed in the road and you can get a better idea of, what your responsibilities are, how the environmental document works.
Thank you.
Mr. District, would you care to ask for comments from the public?
Is there public comments, please?
I have a question or comment.
Would you please step forward?
Oops. My name is Dee Briones and I live on F Street. And I just want to know, why is it's 7,000 is the minimum required for a resident. And this one, I noticed it's like 6 of them are at 7, and one is at like 7,100 or so. Why can't they make the lot 8,000 or 9,000 feet? Why do we always have to shove as much as we can in that space? Can they build maybe 5 houses? Do you have to build 7? Is that the only way you're gonna get your money back?
Well, if I could address that, thank you. The minimum, lot size is $7 a square feet to implement the general plan, which identifies that for, high density. So, presumably if the applicant wanted to, they could make a less dense project, but based on what the city's plans are, that would be considered, you know, the minimum, actually in excess of the minimum, because most of the lots are greater than 7,000 square feet. And so that, you know, what we do when we process this at staff level is we look at the general plan, which is the guiding force of the city, and then we look, the zoning implements the general plan. So look at design requirements, and if it meets all the standards, we're achieving what the goals and objectives are of the city by, you know, meeting the general plan. So we recommend that project because it is consistent with the general plan and in compliance with the zoning code.
Okay, anyone else like to speak?
None online.
Okay, we have one here.
Okay, this is Don Kane. Two things. One, I wanted to let you guys know real quick, some information about Alex Kushner. He has a company, they build, ADUs and they build small houses. The reason there's 7 houses there is what he's doing is he's trying to build a cluster of houses for his family and his extended family. So it's for him and his wife and her parents, his parents, I think an uncle. But basically they're just moving, they're Russian and they're moving their entire family cluster there. And because he has a company to build houses, he's just building everybody a house. And so that's why they had to break it up into 7 lots to have enough for everybody. Also, if you drive by and look, you can see they've done landscaping and stuff. I look forward to this because their plan, and they're already starting to do it, is everything's surrounded by English style gardens. So there'll be fruit trees, there'll be pollinator gardens, in that kind of classic English garden kind of style. So it's not in, you know, columns and rows. But in support of him, I would say that the very first plan that he brought had 3 or 4 driveways that dumped out onto 6th Street. And that was brought up as a concern because of traffic and stuff on 6th Street. And he completely, as well as he could, accommodated that concern by shuffling the plans around, and now only 2 driveways pop out on 6th Street, and he slid the other 2 around the corner, and it kind of balanced everything out. The other comment I'm curious about is on page, well, I can't remember now. But anyway, in the report where it talks about the surrounding properties, because I'm associated with the property to the south, I'm kind of curious about how you guys came up with the determination that there was industrial activities going on the property to the south of Mr. Kirchner's property. The reason I wonder is I know a majority of the planning commission knows there's no industrial activities going on there. So I'm just curious where that came from, because it's inaccurate, and this is a report for the record. That's it.
Any further comment from the public?
If I can answer that question.
Michelle?
I guess on that, this is Michelle, did you hear me? So who wrote the city's report that included that, Chuck?
I can certainly change that report when it goes to the council to clarify that.
Can you speak more clearly into the mic? You're really muddy, it's really hard for us to hear you here.
Oh, I'm sorry, Michelle. I can certainly clarify that so it's not stating that when the report goes to the city council.
If I understand you said you were gonna change it before it goes to council, is that what you said?
Yeah, what I said was I would verify that in the staff report to the council, so that it's not stated commercial and industrial.
I also had a question for Alistair's representative, if there are any provisions in the reports that were created related to this, that they had questions about, that they wanted to discuss with the commission, or that they felt were a little odd. I was kinda curious if they had anything that they wanted to bring up, that, the format of things didn't make it easy for them to bring up. Was there anything from Alex's corner that they wanted to say, hey, we'd like this different than the reports?
No, I actually thought the staff report was well written. I think, the staff worked really closely with us to bring forward what we thought was, a really good project. I think it was well balanced with bringing driveways off of the various streets and not all. And we're in agreement with the conditions, so no, we didn't have any issues with the staff report or the condition.
And the last thing is, you know, as I've brought up at, whenever this property's been discussed, I've mentioned that putting driveways onto Sixth impacts pedestrians, impacts the traffic flow, especially if we ever do festivals back there, because it has to remain open as a fire access. You know, me personally, I don't oppose say a decrease in the minimum lot size to enable more sensible lot shapes. Because it's a minimum 7,000 and you're trying to puzzle piece it, you know, to me, whatever enables driveways not to be on Sixth, I don't mind it. You know, it does impact me, it does create more noise, more traffic in general, but anything that moves the driveways off of Sixth is my preference. Because Sixth just, it has so much pedestrian traffic in particular already. And it's just that many more opportunities for dangerous interactions with kids and bikes and joggers and everybody else. So, that's it.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Okay, back to the board.
Wait, I'm sorry, sir, I have Cara.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Yvonne. This is Cara Pellegrini. I am up on First Street. Yeah, I think it actually, you know, I like a pretty elegant plan. And the question is, I think it looks this way, but I want to confirm that there will be sidewalks along Sixth Street related to the development of these properties. Is that correct?
Yes, we're asking for a curb gutter and sidewalk.
Okay. And so I guess I want to maybe a little bit of an alternate opinion about the impact on safety and the environment here, and that is that there is a lot of currently there can be a lot of people speeding up and down Sixth Street. I actually would argue that having a few more homes, a bigger residential presence, which frankly is going to be more security systems and cameras, etc., will then and make it safer for kids and safer for those of us who walk our dogs down there. And so, you know, being the sole, mostly full-time resident up on First Street, I can tell you that a bigger residential presence is a huge issue. We have a homeless encampment in front of our house right now. So I would love to have more residents in my neighborhood who were helping me drugs and alcohol and violence and graffiti, etc. So anyway, just something to consider for those residents who are impacted, that it might actually benefit the neighborhood a little bit to have more people around.
Thank you. No more public comment, back to the board. Anybody at the board?
Ruby
Ruby.
Fowler. I do have one more question. What does dust mitigation look like?
Yeah, here I can address that. Dust mitigation is, they're required to, generally speaking, they have to, keep the dust, under control at all times. They generally, if they water their site on an hourly basis or more to keep it in. If we get complaints, we speak to them, and they have to keep it wet. When we do submit their drainage plan as part of the construction, they have to address controlling dirt, including, keeping the dirt on site, not draining to the street, and also dust control. And I believe, dust control is also in the, municipal code.
Okay. Also, it says part of their mitigation is that they're gonna clean up, dust, debris and everything from the roads on a daily basis. Is that
Yes.
really gonna happen?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Ms. Hilder?
Well, I mean, the only thing I have is the safety of the driving. It's all over town. I mean, 3rd and 4th Avenue, they fly around. I mean, we've got kids on bikes and skateboards and walkers down there too. It's everywhere. It's just not 6th Street. And if my memory serves me right, when they put 6th Street back there, at that time, Caltrans was thinking about rerouting 160 through there. Do you remember that, Dee? Yeah, so that was gonna be 160 rerouted through there. So, traffic, we're gonna have traffic no matter what, so. But I do agree with that last speaker. The more people you have out there, they're gonna be more aware that there's kids out there and there's families, that hopefully it'll slow them down, so. That's it.
Okay, thank you. I have one last question also, and that is, it talks about, for flooding and drainage, or possibly putting in ditches or pipes. If, with all that being covered up there with cement slabs and whatnot, that water is gonna run off, it's not gonna go into the ground. And do we have Chuck, I'll ask you this, do we have a drainage system back there? Or are they gonna have to tunnel under 6th Avenue and go out through one of the drainage ditches on the other side?
They're probably gonna have to go, collect the water, on site, and drain across the street, into those ditches on the south side. Also, part of the, current environmental regulations are they are supposed to detain, retain, recharge as much water as possible, on their, the whole project. So, they have to put together a drainage like planning plan, where they have to address how much water is going to be, rained on, how much collected, how much they detain, recharge, and then what's left off.
My concern on that was, I've seen those ditches on the other side, and the city of Isleton has been very lax in the past of ever keeping those clean to actually drain through.
Gotta have that rain.
So, yeah, we need rain. So, but just as long as there's a cost, I think somebody from the city there to keep wherever that goes through, that drainage ditch has gotta be kept open or pipes put in all the way.
I believe we maintain them every year.
Well, they cut the brush out of them,
Yes.
but when they're loaded up with brush and dirt, water doesn't get through and 6th Avenue floods in areas. Thank you.
I have one more thing.
Ruby?
So will this document be amended before it's made final? So I'm going back to the map on page 36 that shows that ADU. I imagine that this was, this map, this little overlay was made at a time when he believed that he could have ADUs, and now he has learned that he can't. Is that right? Have an ADU, we're not zoned for that at this juncture?
Gary, did you want to address that?
Well, my question is, if that's in fact true, could we amend this little footprint here not to include this ADU that's on this?
I mean, he could leave it out of the package,
Yeah,
that's.
that would also be a place to park boats.
Yeah, this is really, as I mentioned, the, actual development of each lot is not subject to, planning commission or city council review, it's exempt from design or its own. So, I mean, this is an illustration of what can happen. The ADU thing is state law, there's nothing that the city can do to prove that. I could probably add some language in the staff report, that goes to the city council about the commission's concerns about the ADUs, and we can talk a little bit more about that. But again, it wouldn't be something that the city council could do anything about. I'm happy to have that language in here, because the planning commission is concerned about it. And I certainly would respect that, and so the city council can evaluate the project.
Well, my only concern really is just the technicality of this drawing, that, if we're gonna finalize this document and put it in final, that I would like to see that drawing revised so that an ADU is not sitting on the property.
I don't think there's an ADU on the property, we could,
Looks like on page
up to the
36.
applicant, but it's causing some problems with it. Understand the project, just simply remove the, illustration completely. And it seems to be,
That'd be my preference, is to remove it. It's just conceptual, and there's no reason for it to be in there until until we have something concrete that he wants to bring forward to get a building permit. I would say just remove it from the report, that would be my preference.
yeah, it was something that was in the package, and I thought, hey, you might as well put it in there. You would like to see, let the commission know kind of the thought, but it certainly isn't something that would require, what does require, to do some kind of design review for each lot. And so to me, it does seem confusing. I agree with Rob, just take it out.
Thank you. I hope that at some juncture, this doesn't have to do with the Kushner project, but I hope at some juncture we can discuss the issue of ADUs. I'm in favor of them. I'm sorry that state law preempts us, or, prevents us from entertaining them. So just as an aside, I'd like to hope that we can continue to have constructive, conversations about that.
I mean, if I could answer that, as part of the, once the general plan is updated, that would be, and of course, the housing that you approved, does talk about the ADU, and recognizes that the zoning would need to be updated, to include reference to the state laws, and, we could perhaps generate a package. There's a really good, guide from the State Department of Housing and Community Development. They talk about ADUs, and we could give that to you. This week, you can kind of dig through it and understand a little bit. But, after the general plan is updated, we plan to come back and amend the zoning code to include not just the ADUs, but everything else, and things that the planning commission is concerned with, talk about RV parking, perhaps on some of the, lots that have greater or lower densities, we could have that addressed a little bit more carefully. So there's a lot of things we can do in the future in terms of, looking at the zoning code in the future, but right now, it's kind of, that's what we have. So I would suggest, I would find that document and give it to Chuck and Yvonne to circulate.
Thank you. That's all for me, thank you.
Mr. Kessler, we do have another public comment.
Yes, if there's any more public comment?
Hi, it's Elena from 4809. I know that the property is currently connected to the hydrant on 6th and I believe D Street. I was just wondering if that's paid for as a base fee or is it metered?
I believe the property owner told me he's paying for it, directly to Cal-Am. I don't know, what the basis of his, fee is, but he said he's paying for water. And Cal-Am has acknowledged that they're receiving funds for the water.
Okay. Through the city hydrant?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any further comment from the public? If not, turn it back over to Jack, I think.
Well, no,
What do you want me to do?
you're the board that has to consider the motion,
Would be just
the resolution, PCO 322. That's on
Okay.
Jim.
Do we have a motion to accept from the board?
I'll make the motion to accept it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded.
I'm sorry, who seconded? I did not hear.
Ruby Fowler.
Thank you. Planning Commissioner Mandy Elder,
Yes,
Planning Commissioner Joe Kestner,
Yes.
Planning Commissioner Ruby Fowler.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Next item, Chair, Mr. Chairman, Ms. Work, we're gonna take, table again, and then item number 7A is regarding an appointment to the Isleton Historic Review Board.
Thank you, Commissioner. The next item is new business. It's the Isleton Historic Review Board, ordinance number 05/2011, section 1.03, nominate second member of the Planning Commission for appointment to the Isleton Historic Review Board. For this, generally, we have two board members on the historic board, and Chris Jones, he resigned, so we need to have another member.
who's the other one?
And I'm the
Yeah, that's
one.
what I'm saying.
So who would like to take the place?
I'm willing to, if you guys aren't popping to do it.
I'm on the chamber already, so.
No, I'll pass.
Okay, alright, I'm willing to.
I've got too much on my plate as it is.
Ms. Burke, you wanna take off? Great. We don't need a public comment on this. Do we?
You can take public comment if you want.
Do we have a public comment on the choice? Ms. Burke was gonna be replacing Chris Jones? No? Back to the commission? Do I have a motion to approve Ms. Burke as our representative?
I'll make the motion to approve, Ms. Burke.
I will second the motion.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, PC. Planning Commissioner Mandy Elder.
Yes,
She's in.
Hello?
That's a yes.
yes,
Sorry. Planning Commissioner Joe Kestner,
Yes.
Planning Commissioner Michelle Burke,
Yes.
Planning Commissioner Ruby Fowler,
Yes.
Chair Jack Kima.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you very much. Commission reports? Ms. Fowler, do you have any reports?
I don't.
Thank you. And Mr. Kastner, do you have any reports?
I don't have a report, but I do have a request. For 3 months, I've been trying to get the code enforcement, report for what our code enforcement officer's been doing, and for 3 months now, and I haven't seen it. I've asked the city manager, do you have it with you?
No, I'll follow up, get a report.
I gotta ask, do we have a report or not?
No.
When can we expect it? I've been hearing the same thing for 3 months, it really concerns me.
Next meeting.
Does the code enforcement officer make a report?
Yes.
He doesn't.
Yeah, we need to go in writing.
Can we take a 15-minute recess and just go over, pick it up and bring it back?
We don't, I said we don't have one.
Yeah,
So-
we know.
Ms. Burke?
Yeah, I did have a question. At the beginning of the meeting, Chuck, you said you're acting as instructed by the law regarding agenda items. Which law?
City code,
Which code?
the city code.
Which code?
I'll look into it, I'll give you the number.
Ms. Burke, make public comments, there's no time for questions, that should be there. So if you have any comments, any reports to give, please give that. Do you have any? Thank you very much. Ms. Allen, do you have any reports?
Not at this time, I don't.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, in the last council meeting, you saw how Mr. Bodenheimer had represented himself to the council based on the issue that was on the 66 Main Street. If you notice, he was very, very to the point, very, very accurate, and every time when he was presenting something, he was referring to the codes, which is very, very important. And this is what our job is, to interpret the codes of what the city has. And something I think we should look very carefully, start looking at, and as codes come in, and today, the three commissioners did very well questioning regarding the development, which is what we're supposed to be doing. And looking at the codes, if there's any issues in the codes that are there that's questionable, you can question those. And it's very, very important. Our job is specifically to interpret, look at the codes, and see how that code applies. And then give that information to the city council so that they can make a sound decision. So so it was very, very good that we all showed up at the council meeting and we saw how things are done over there. So that's my comment for today. Thank you. Staff report, please.
Yes, sir. I passed out, Mr. Price's, draft, reasonable accommodation, ordinance that, the commission had asked about. And I believe Mr. Price, took this from Clear Lake. So this is a draft, reasonable accommodation, ordinance that the commission can consider regarding, the zoning and general plan. And if they're likely to, agendize it in the future. And also, the Hotel Del Rio, was cleared and is boarded up, and we're in discussions with the current property owner is the bank, and the bank's discussing the next steps, what he's gonna do about, getting the Del Rio back online.
Are we going to be nudging them to have the Del Rio as an actual hotel instead of an SRO?
That's council's, I think council's indicated that's what they want. The Del Rio, the bank is, I think they have, I don't think I'm speaking out of turn, they have, they're interested in selling it. There are discussions in selling it, so if someone buys it, they'll may pursue the existing use or a change of use.
I thought someone said it went up for auction already. It was at, a recent.
My last conversations were that the bank still owns it.
Okay, so that auction thing.
I think it's too soon for that.
It did seem like it. It seemed rather abrupt, but someone said it had gone up for auction and someone had bought it, and then we didn't hear anything further, so.
Mainly, the city was concerned about, all the activities going on in Del Rio. We still have some minor activities going on in Del Rio, but we wanted it, obviously it was a hazard, we secured it, and we now work with the bank to try to get it back online.
Can we, put something in place before they sell it, or whoever's interested in it knows that it has to be put back to a hotel? didn't have to
That's
be
it.
far. or
It was in violation of its conditional use.
It's good, that'd be a question for the attorney, I can forward that on to him, if you're suggesting that, have it, ask them to have them go back to the hotel.
Yes.
Chuck, I have a question. What's the zoning currently on the Del Rio?
It's commercial. It's
Should
commercial.
be, yeah.
Well,
Unless-
commercial, but
Unless it got changed, the person wouldn't do that.
how does it go from a overnight hotel to how did that happen?
Conditional use.
Oh, okay.
And so it's in violation of conditional use of parking and a number of other things, I believe, so I believe you can finally revoke the conditional
That's
use
what I
that
think.
came under very fine auspices in the
Yeah,
first
because
place.
It was all done, not.
Right, like Michelle mentioned, the parking was out of violation. There's several other things out of violation of the CUP. Yeah, it's a legal point, if we hold them to the CUP, or they wanna maintain the CUP, then, do we fight them and try to force them to go back to the hotel?
But will the bank fight us, and is this our window that we should take
That's what
before
I'm
it's
thinking, if
sold?
we could get it in paper now, in writing, saying whoever buys this is the use, and this is how it's gonna be.
Right, I mean, this is just speculation, but the bank, they, if we, cancel the CUP, the bank may protest.
I don't know, what do you think, Mandy?
So that's,
Or then they would wanna get rid of the building, and it would be whoever bought it problem.
Right.
Just whoever buys it needs to know ahead of time that.
Yeah.
I just,
This is
just
what I gotta put in.
generally speaking, down zoning the property is always tough,
Yeah,
hard
Why
to
would this
do.
be considered down zoning?
Because they're gonna lose, a number of units. They're gonna lose a number of units anyway, based on some engineering issues, but they would lose units, and they would lose, it's a toss, they lose cash flow, but then it depends on what they put in, that's.
Aren't the units they're losing the ones on the ground floor that never should have been approved in the first place?
Correct,
Because they
correct.
were subsequent to FEMA
Right.
saying you can't?
Right.
So they were already out of compliance in a whole
Right.
bunch of screwball ways, so therefore those don't. really
Right, I mean,
count.
there's playing
Well,
devil's
places out of
advocate.
compliance.
Playing devil's advocate, he's got less
Yeah.
ground units, he has these many apartment units, he wants to keep it as an apartment because it generates this much cash flow, they're not a real estate company, they're a bank.
Right,
And they wanna make
which
sure.
means they're less likely to argue, I suspect, because they got better stuff to do, which means this is a perfect time for us to revoke that CUP, which was crap in the first place, plus, we need to finish leaning it for all the money that they owed us that they never paid. I thought you went through and leaned them for some of the stuff through like 2018, but what about 2018 through present? We need to lean it before they sell it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we don't get paid until they, get sold again? Or just never?
Well,
So
no,
we need to finish that.
we've incurred some costs, those we have leaned in, or, forwarded some of the bills to the bank's paying.
Yeah, but they never paid their occupancy taxes, did they?
No, without, that would
Then
be.
you let them open up again without paying their occupancy taxes, and they're way delinquent on that.
No, yeah,
So, we need to lean them for the occupancy taxes that they never paid, that property owes the city,
yes,
before it sells.
yes.
Isn't there a time limit on the CUP? That should be expired or something?
I don't know, we can't, no one has the original papers, no papers.
There's no original papers.
It's
For-
only he
for what
said, she
they
said.
They didn't do any paperwork, it was just go ahead, do what you wanna do.
Yeah, the owner,
So they may not have
we're drifting afield here, but the owner said he had papers, he couldn't produce them, the city has no records.
Yes, so there may not be.
Then there's no
There's no
CUP.
There is no
Which
CUP.
means it's only
Which
a
has to be done
violation of
illegally.
the road, which is
Yeah.
enough of this.
Anyway.
Okay.
As long as that information is passed on to the city council.
Huh?
As long as that information gets passed to the city council,
Yeah.
so to make sure they are aware also that there's no CUP on that building.
Chuck, can you put that on city council's agenda, since that's.
It's gonna make it to the council, we have to discuss, what's gonna happen, but that has been discussed at council at length, about, do we undergo, the attorneys advising the costs to go to court to determine the CUP.
Yeah, but even, that was closed session, that wasn't open council session, or we would have heard it, that's been closed session.
No, it was we discussed it openly, as well as, the other point that the attorney made was that this existing CUP, you know, the renewal of which, you know, we have to have some type of paperwork to, and make a decision, but when it'll be reviewed. That's still up in the air.
So the issue with Del Rio is very complicated. Please keep in mind that we as planning commissioners really have no authority to make any decision unless the city council sends us something to make a decision on based on the codes and the ordinances that the city has. Other than that, most of the decisions will be made by the city council and whatever the staff and business owner, whoever owns the property.
But
It's
we
kind of
can-
frustrating,
But we can
but-
advise them on stuff
Yes,
because they
but
don't dig into the code as much as we do.
Unless they're gonna ask us, we can advise them. They will send us information, say, okay, look into this, so then we look into it.
No, we can choose to put things
That,
on.
that goes on you can go to the city council.
Yeah, but we
meeting.
can choose to put things on the planning commission agenda, which then forwards to them.
Well, I think either way, it's gotta come back to the commission.
Yeah, it will, but it will come in a particular way. Yeah, when it comes in, then we discuss it. So, but, we can't make that as an issue for ourselves and try to, go step in front of the council. The council will send us the information, whatever they need to do.
I mentioned it's one of our big issues that we've had the past 3 or 4 years it's closed.
Yeah.
That's a start.
Yeah, it's a start.
Keep in mind, commissioners, that it's frustrating, we wanna sit here and wanna do more than what we would, but the thing, that needs to be done, but the thing is, keep in mind, everything has a procedure, and policies and procedures we have to follow, and sometimes we have to stay within the limits or guidelines that we're given, and which is very, very important, and that kind of removes chaos, and it allows, everything will follow the procedure. Now that the Del Rio is closed, we can hope that the council will send us, and we'll start from scratch, right at the beginning, and instead of giving a conditional use permit, we will turn around and try to get it back into the hotel as a historical hotel as it was, and the restaurant that it was. And somebody out there will read the law, really, based on the way it was, but certainly not the way it has been, the way it is.
Well, that's again, Jack, I think that's kind of all of our concern.
Yes.
How does it get to the city council, let the city council know that we want something that we can sink our teeth into? Does that have to go through staff to city council to say, hey, the planning commission is very concerned about this subject, so please put it on your agenda to them to talk about?
I think on that one there, you go to the city council and voice
So
yourself.
we have
put
to
it in
go to,
writing,
as a public
and-
person, we go in and
Yes,
have to,
as a
okay,
public.
thank you.
Yes. I mean, we can't take our concern and send it to them.
No,
They will send in, then our job is to solve it. They're not there to solve our problem.
no.
We're here to
they
solve
just-
their problem.
We just have to relay the
We just have to-
information to them that
Yeah,
we need
exactly.
guidance.
I think what you're trying to do is trying to say that how you can send the information to the council so the council can
Yes.
respond to it, so we can do some more than what we are doing. That makes a lot of sense. I think, the staff is working on it, and some other, I think that the attorney is looking into that too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, and, I think give them time,
Good.
and I think in the next meeting we'll discuss it a little more, or when we,
I think so, yeah.
in the next meeting, great, thank you very much. Is there any other questions, anything, or should we adjourn the meeting?
I have a question,
Yes,
real
go
quick.
ahead.
Just, I'm unclear about our role as commissioners, just
Mhm.
because, so, as a commissioner, also as a private citizen, I'm interested in looking at the CUPs for all the cannabis businesses only as it relates to, their agreements to open up these storefronts in which they're back of the house operations, mostly except for the dispensaries. So we have a few cannabis businesses that are back of the house in these buildings, and from what I understand, their development agreements, they've said that they will, open up the storefronts to commercial enterprise, non-cannabis related. One, I don't know if that's true because I haven't been able to see development agreements, but only as it relates that the cannabis businesses, maintain their agreements with the city to open up their storefronts. And I think, so I'm interested in doing that. Do I have to do that as a private citizen, or can I do that as a commissioner?
You are right in a lot of the things that your concerns are, and I think, the part of the conditional use permit was that they're supposed to use the front as a retail space. And, what has happened is that, one of the problems that we were facing in the past was the commissioners and everybody were going to the staff and saying, I want this information, I want that information, and we're taking a lot of the time from there, and I don't know, there was a rule made, wasn't it? That they cannot come, or they have to request, in writing or something? How's that works?
I believe it preceded me, I think the request had to come in writing.
It has to come in writing
The request to
to the staff, that I want this and following
view
information.
to look at
Yes.
the CUPs and the.
Well, I mean, sorry, a citizen, you can make a request, I think we're working on that request, with information there, so a citizen can make a request, we can assemble it and bring it to you. Whether it's discussed at the commission level.
It's not a
Yes.
topic of discussion at the commission level?
I mean, and again, we run by the attorney and ask them.
I thought that we had talked about going over the conditional use permits, particularly on Main Street.
They're coming up for renewal.
Right, and I thought that some of them were on an annual basis, we've got 6 of them here on Main Street, I think one of them we revoked already, I can't remember the why. And the other 5, I think the first one, maybe 2 that were discussed, might not have had the language in them having to do with the front, but everything else, it was emphasized every time that there had to be language in there having to do with opening up the front. I know that, the rooming house, he was gonna do some kind of, lighting type business. I don't remember if it's mostly Sebastian who's got them, but, I don't know if any of the other ones that specified what they had planned. But, I thought that this was an annual review to confirm they were in compliance, and that it was a longer, you get to do, so long as you're in compliance, the thing runs for, what is it, 5 years or something like that?
Yeah,
But there was a compliance thing that was an annual review, we haven't done that.
but we just don't have the hands to do it. We're trying to stay ahead of we're looking at the list and trying to get ahead of the ones that are up, like, 5 years.
So those will be brought to us.
Can we at least look at Main Street stuff, because it has to do with the revitalization of Main Street?
Yeah,
It's rather important to the economy of this city.
yes.
Well, the point is, every single one of those buildings that do not have a storefront is in violation. It's, how many stores are down there? A handful? Everybody else is in violation, so, I mean,
I don't know how we have it written, I think
it's written in the code that way.
Yeah, but I don't think, it's written commercial, but I don't know if it's written retail, we might need to tighten the language up.
I believe it's retail. I
So
don't know
we need to
what
see
that
what
ordinance,
the-
I'm pretty sure. it's
Yeah, it says retail, the first,
400 feet.
yeah, the front,
Yeah.
ground floor is retail there.
Yeah.
But we've sent letters
We
out.
shortened it up, it was longer, I think it was 1,000 or something, and they
We've
shortened it up to
sent
the 400.
letters, yes, we've sent letters to all businesses on Main Street.
So they're all in violation.
So
Well,
how
either
do we
as a-
solve that? We can,
It's a code
like,
enforcement.
orders can be brought to us?
No, it's a
or-
code enforcement issue, I'm discussing, we're looking into, activating that element of the code and enforcing that here, probably within the month.
Thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Meeting's adjourned. Have a nice evening.